December 1961. The Bluebell Knoll cabin sat nestled in the frost-bitten ridges of the Appalachian peaks, a sanctuary for the Miller family, or so it seemed until the first snowfall of the season turned into a shroud. Investigators arrived to find the heavy oak front door bolted from the inside, a locking mechanism that required a specific iron key left hanging on the kitchen wall. Inside, the air was stagnant, heavy with the metallic tang of dried blood, and the eerie silence of a home interrupted. There was no sign of a struggle, no broken windows, and no forced entry. Yet, 4 people lay in their beds, their lives extinguished with surgical precision. The fireplace was still cold, suggesting the tragedy had occurred days earlier. Yet the neighbors reported seeing lights flickering in the windows just hours before the police arrived. How do 4 grown adults vanish into the permanent silence of their own bedrooms without a single sound? The lead investigator, Detective Elias Thorne, found a single playing card, the Queen of Spades, pinned to the dining table with a rusted steak knife. It wasn't just a calling card. It was a signature, one that had appeared in 3 other isolated cabins across the state over the previous decade. Each case was labeled as a natural occurrence or accidental gas leak by local authorities looking to bury the truth. But the files in this room, the files I'm holding now, paint a far more sinister picture. They point to a pattern, a mathematical sequence of geography that suggests the killer wasn't a random drifter, but someone meticulously tracking their victims through the wilderness. Consider the physics of the crime scene. The windows were sealed shut from the inside with paint that hadn't been cracked in years. The chimney was blocked by debris, meaning any gaseous leakage should have been impossible. The coroner's report, buried deep in the archives, notes that the victim's lungs were perfectly clear, ruling out fire or suffocation. They didn't struggle because they were already gone, or perhaps they were waiting for someone they knew to walk through that door. We often search for monsters in the shadows, but the real terror lies in the realization that the door was locked because the threat was already inside the room with them. Think about the logistics of moving through that terrain in 1961 without a vehicle, without a modern communications grid, and leaving absolutely zero footprints in the knee-deep snow that surrounded the cabin. This wasn't a crime of passion or a robbery gone wrong. There was over $5,000 in cash sitting on the mantel, untouched, gathering dust while the family lay dead only 10 feet away. What kind of perpetrator walks away from wealth? The kind that prioritizes the hunt over the prize. As I flip to the final page of this report, the handwriting changes. It becomes erratic, desperate, as if the officer writing it realized that the trail didn't lead to a cabin in the woods, but to an address in the city. The killer wasn't hiding in the forest. They were working within the very department tasked with solving the case. Every time an investigator got close to identifying the silhouette of the person seen at Bluebell Knoll, they were transferred to a desk job or found themselves dismissed for procedural errors. The system was designed to protect the ghost, to ensure that the Queen of Spades remained a mystery, a whisper in the wind that died with the victims. You see, the truth isn't buried in the woods. It's hidden in the ink of the very files that claim the case is closed. The victims were never the end goal. They were just the first step in a much larger, more calculated experiment in psychological terror. People ask why the authorities stopped searching, why the neighbors moved away in silence, and why the local town records for that winter are missing entirely. It's because the person who walked out of that cabin on the night of December 14th didn't leave a footprint. They left a legacy, one that connects every cold case I've studied, every locked room mystery that keeps you awake at night, and every piece of evidence that seems to vanish right when you're about to solve it. It's a chain of events that pulls you deeper into the darkness, making you wonder if you're the one hunting the killer, or if the killer has been watching you since the moment you started listening to this story. You want to know why this case was never solved, why the files were purged, and who left that card on the table. But the answer is staring right at you from the empty space on your screen. which is exactly why the silence is the loudest thing you'll ever hear during the final seconds before the loop repeats the same cycle of unanswered questions.